are today's headlines. The National Bureau of Investigation is ordered to investigate the local recruiter of slain OFW Joanna Demafelis. Malacanang assures that President Duterte is unlikely to railroad the implementation of charter change. The Department of Justice is set to probe the complaints against former President Noynoy Aquino over the Dengvaxia issue. And relief aid continues to pour into Albay as FIVOX maintains alert level 4 over Mayon volcano. Good day, I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The National Bureau of Investigation is set to probe the recruiter of slain OFW Joanna Demafelis following the arrest of the husband and wife suspects. Here's our report.
Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre II ordered the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, to conduct a probe against the local recruitment agency of Joanna Demafelis, the overseas Filipino worker who was found dead inside a freezer in an abandoned apartment in Kuwait. Aguirre ordered NBI Director Dante Gueran to investigate and build a case over the possible liabilities of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Global Human Resources Incorporated, which recruited Demafelis but closed down in 2016. Earlier, President Rodrigo Duterte directed NBI to look for the local recruiters of Demafelis following the arrest of her employers, Lebanese national Nader Essam Asaf and his Syrian wife, Mona Hassoun, who are the principal suspects. The foreign recruitment agency Demafelis signed under was identified as Fadila Fars Kawed Al Qudor Recruitment Office, which is currently under the watch list of the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration because of a pending case. The Demafelis family said they went to the recruitment agency that sent her to Kuwait after they lost contact with her in 2016 but found out that it had been closed due to recruitment violations. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
The Department of Transportation expects the audit of the 48 trains delivered from Dailan CCRC for the MRT-3 to be completed by March 10. DOTR Secretary Arthur Tugades said the independent audit and assessment consultant TUV Rainland would determine whether the Dailan trains can be used for the MRT system. Last January, the DOTR hired a consultant to evaluate and make recommendations on what to do with the light rail vehicles or LRV procured by the previous administration for 3.8 billion pesos, which were found to be incompatible with the current MRT rails. Aside from rail compatibility, the MRT-3's maintenance facilities and signaling system were also an issue. If the 48 LRVs are cleared to run, that would increase the MRT's line by 24 car trains. Tugade also said that MRT operations is expected to improve by April or May, as spare parts necessary for the increase in the number of running trains are expected to arrive in the country. The repair of the MRT system is expected to cost around 400 million pesos and last for 6 months. President Rodrigo Duterte vowed to give lawmakers enough time to consider the merits of charter change. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque Jr. bellied claims of Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon that there was a plot by congressmen to railroad Chacha. Drilon claimed that some congressmen wanted to postpone the May 2018 barangay elections and hold it on a later date simultaneously with a plebiscite on proposed amendments. Roque said the president knows Chacha cannot be railroaded since it involves the loss of the land. The presidential spokesperson, however, noted that Duterte wanted Congress to wait until the consultative committee led by former Supreme Court Chief Justice Renato Puno is done reviewing the 1987 Constitution. Roque also assured that barangay elections will push through. He said that while there is a pending bill in the House to suspend the barangay elections again, Senate President Aquilino Coco Pimentel said they will not support another postponement. The old Makati and Manila stock exchanges were finally unified at their new home at the Philippine Stock Exchange Tower on 5th Avenue, corner 28th Street in Bonifacio Global City, Taguig. Taguig City Mayor Lani Cayetano welcomed the merger of the two stock exchanges and assured the PSC of the city government's full support in its future projects. The new building is 2/3 bigger than the old trading floor in Makati and has a big LED screen outside which displays stock prices and other market data in real time. PSE Chair Jose Pardo said the stock exchange would have bigger offices and a new museum showcasing its rich history. David Lee Chu, president and founder of Lee Chu Property Consultants, meanwhile said that the merger of the two stock exchanges in BGC confirms that it has replaced Makati as the country's finance center. The Gig City takes pride of being the current home of top corporations, embassies, and government offices. The city was also recognized last August 2017 by the National Competitiveness Council of the Philippines as one of the most improved local government units in the category of highly urbanized cities. Muslim religious leaders expressed support for the passage of the Bangsamoro Basic Law as a means to prevent violent extremism and bring peace and order in Mindanao. Here's our report.
Muslim religious leaders, clerics, and scholars or ulama are rallying behind the enactment of the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law. Dr. Abul Khair Tarason, the chairman of the Basilan Ulama Supreme Council, sees the BBL as the solution to violent extremism through genuine autonomy for the Moro people. Tarason noted that the BBL seeks to overhaul the current system in the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao that will help answer the root causes of violent extremism. Among these include poverty, lack of education and equal opportunities, social justice, and wrong teaching of Islam. Basilan Vice Governor Yusuf Alano, who is an ustad, also voiced his support, saying the cycle of violence in the island province has destroyed the province's development. Along with neighboring Sulu and Tawi-Tawi, Basilan has been a hotbed of armed conflict brought about by the Moro Rebellion. Basilan is also the birthplace of the notorious terrorist group Abu Sayyaf, which is linked to Al-Qaeda and has pledged allegiance to the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria or ISIS. Meanwhile, ulama in Western Mindanao and in Central Mindanao have issued several fatwa or Islamic law to address violent extremism. As early as 2015, the Darul Ifta of the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao declared that terrorism and mischief are not accepted as similar to jihad because Islam espouses compassion. The Ulama Summit in Cotabato City also forbade the use of Islam to justify or legitimize violent extremism and terrorism. Lawmakers are working to pass the bill in March to pave the way for its ratification in the middle of this year. The passage of the BBL is one of the cornerstone policies of the Duterte administration to achieve the long-drawn aspiration for peace in Mindanao and address the historical injustices committed against the Moro people. The BBL is the legal document to operationalize and implement all the peace agreements signed between the government and the Moro fronts. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, the Department of Justice is set to probe the complaints against former President Noynoy Aquino over the Dengvaxia issue. The Philippine National Police turns over new vehicles and equipment to regional police units. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Sa kanilang pagsuporta dito sa kauna-unahang rally for federalism na tinawag po nating Federalism Ibig ng Bayan.
Ipakita po natin sa buong mundo na po tayo po ay nagtutulungan. Ang alam ko po na isang ugali ng Pilipino yung nagtutulungan. Magtulungan po tayo, tulungan po natin ang ating presidente na ipatupad ang federalism para po tuloy-tuloy po ang progreso ng bawat probinsya dito po sa Pilipinas.
Ang federalismo po ay magpapatibay ng ating demokrasya. Ang federalismo ay magbibigay sa atin ng equality. At ang federalismo ay magbibigay sa atin ng pagkakaisa.
Ating presidente ay handang magbigay ng mga responsibilidad. Gawin natin kung anong gawin para sa kabutihan ng ating rehiyon sa Kabisayan at sa Mindanao. Kami po lahat ay nagsasama-sama. Kaya walang imposible sa pagbabago ng ating pong gobyerno from unitary to federalism. Ito lang po ang magiging talagang mitsa ng tunay na pagbabago sa ilalim po ng ating pong Presidente Rodrigo Duterte.
Ang federalismo ay yung pagkakaroon po ng patas na kayamanan sa bawat rehiyon ng Pilipinas. Hindi lang po sa Luzon, hindi lang Manila ang dapat na nakikinabang sa kaban ng bayan.
4 years na lang po ang nalalabi. Kailangan bilisan po natin itong pagbalangkas ng federalismo para makompleto po ang mga pangako ni Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte sa atin lahat.
The Department of Justice is set to determine whether charges should be filed against former President Noynoy Aquino and other health officials involved in the Dengvaxia controversy. Here's our report.
The Department of Justice created a 4-man panel to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to warrant the filing of a criminal complaint against former President Benigno Aquino III in connection with the controversial anti-dengue vaccine Dengvaxia. This is in relation to the complaint filed by Vanguard of the Philippines Incorporated and Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption, which includes technical malversation and criminal negligence. Dr. Francisco Cruz, who earlier testified in the Senate inquiry on the matter, also joined VACC and VPCI as a co-complainant. VPCI and VACC claimed that procurement of the Dengvaxia was fast-tracked and may have violated the government procurement law. Aside from Aquino, named as respondents were former Budget Secretary Florencio Abad, former Health Secretary Janet Garin, and other former and current officials of the DOH, including officials and employees from pharmaceutical companies Welig, which supplied the controversial vaccine, and Sanofi Pasteur, the manufacturer of Dengvaxia. A total of 830,000 children and 30,000 more, including members of the Philippine National Police, received doses of the Dengvaxia vaccine. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre II called on the Public Attorney's Office to provide legal assistance to families of children who develop severe dengue that lead to either death or serious illnesses after receiving the vaccine. The DOJ also ordered the National Bureau of Investigation to look into the controversial 3.5 billion peso dengue vaccine project of the DOH. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
Malacanang denied that it was politicizing the issue on the controversial dengue vaccine Dengvaxia, which was implemented in 2016 during the Aquino administration. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque emphasized that President Rodrigo Duterte understood why former President Benigno Aquino III and other health officials during his term opted to implement the dengue vaccine. Roque, however, said that Duterte has still ordered the National Bureau of Investigation to prosecute those involved. Roque made this remark after former President Aquino claimed that the issue was being politicized by government officials he did not name. The presidential spokesperson said that people want to know why the purchase of the dengue vaccine was done quickly despite the unknown health risks. Both chambers of Congress are looking into the possibility that the purchase was rushed by the Aquino administration to use as funds during campaign period. The government maintains that the higher excise taxes brought about by the train law will lead to bigger revenues, which will help the Duterte administration's policies and benefit the people in the long run. Here's our report.
Amidst complaints about the additional excise tax that goes with the Tax Reform Acceleration and Inclusion or TRAIN Budget Secretary Benjamin Drocna said the new law is expected to yield 130 billion pesos in revenues this year. Drocna discussed the Philippine economic outlook for 2018 and how the train law fits in the development agenda of the Duterte administration before members of the Italian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, indicating that the expected revenue will steadily rise to as much as 220 billion pesos annually and will generate close to 1 trillion pesos in revenues from 2018 to 2022. He added that the full effects of train will only be appreciated in the medium to long term. To finance the high requirement for infrastructure spending, Drocna said that 70% of train revenues will be earmarked for the Build program, while the remaining will be allotted for social services. Drocna reiterated that the government ensures mitigating measures to offset the inflationary impact of train law. The government set aside an unconditional cash grant of 200 pesos per month per household to the poorest 50% of households. The conditional cash transfers for the poorest of the poor will be increased to 300 pesos per month in 2019 and 2020, benefiting 10 million Filipino households. Drocna said the passage of Package 1 of train shows that the commitment of the Duterte administration in improving the economic conditions of the country and the general welfare of its people. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Pamela Marie Seminiano.
The Police Regional Office 11 received 57 million pesos worth of new vehicles at Camp Katitipan in Davao City. PNP Chief Director General Ronald De La Rosa, who led the turnover ceremony, said the new cars and motorcycles will augment police mobility in search and rescue operations during disasters and calamities. He thanked the local government and the community who continue to support the PNP, particularly the Davao Police in its campaign for peace and order. In a related development, 11 brand new vehicles were also turned over to the Police Regional Office 3 at the Camp Olivas, Pampanga in Central Luzon. The recipients of the new police vehicles are the Regional Mobile Force Battalion and the provincial offices of Aurora, Bataan, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, Tarlac, and Zambales. Meanwhile, the Bacolod City Police Office received 10 motorcycles, 8 submachine guns, and 2 body cameras from the Police Regional Office 6. PRO 6 Director Chief Superintendent Cesar Hawthorne Binag said these will boost the mobility and quick response time of police stations. Binag said body cameras will meanwhile be used by operatives of the city drug enforcement units to ensure transparency during their operations. Police SWAT teams are expected to go head-to-head in the first Chief PNP SWAT Challenge to be launched next month. The SWAT Challenge will run from March 1 to 3 at the Team Davao Firing Range on Diversion Road in Maa, Davao City. The activity is in line with the PNP's Master Training Action Plan aimed at enhancing the effectiveness, efficiency, and tactical proficiency of SWAT units. More than 50 teams representing the Philippine National Police, Armed Forces of the Philippines, and other law enforcement units from all over the country will be participating in the competition with surprise awards and other prizes from President Rodrigo Duterte awaiting the winners. Up next, relief aid continues to pour into Albay as PHIVOX maintains alert level 4 over Mayon volcano. The province of Basilan aims to promote its new image as it celebrates its 44th founding anniversary. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns. Relief aid continued to pour into Albay as Mayon volcano remained under alert level 4 since it started acting up more than a month ago. Here's our report.
Eduardo Laguerta, chief of PHIVOX in Bicol, said Mayon continued to show signs of sustained activity characterized by quiet lava effusion and degassing from the summit crater. He said that as long as there is lava coming out of the crater summit and other indications of a possible hazardous eruption are present, Alert Level 4 remains in effect. PHIVOX reiterates its warning to residents to keep out of the 8-kilometer radius danger zone, to be extra vigilant for lahar flows along the river channels during heavy rains. In a related development, billions of pesos worth of donations from various private corporations and foundations keep pouring in for evacuees. The Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council said several entities have stepped up efforts to assist thousands of displaced families that were housed in various evacuation centers in Albay. Claudio Yucot, Regional Director of the Office of Civil Defense for Bicol and RDRRMC Chairperson, said there are over 17,000 families still seeking refuge in 61 evacuation centers in the towns of Malilipot, Bacacay, Santo Domingo, Daraga, Camalig, Ginobatan, and the cities of Tabaco, Ligao, and Legazpi. Yucot said the national and local governments have spent a total of 325 million pesos in assistance given to the thousands of families displaced by Mayon volcano's eruption. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Abs Abando.
Oil firms implemented a new round of price hikes following 2 weeks of rollbacks. Petron, Shell, Flying V, Sea Oil, PTT Philippines, Phoenix Petroleum, and Eastern Petroleum increased their prices at 6 in the morning. Pump prices increased by 65 centavos per liter for unleaded and premium gasoline, 85 centavos per liter for diesel, and 1 peso and 15 centavos per liter for kerosene. The oil firms explained that the hike reflects the movement in the international market. Bago City emerged as a top team in the Visayas quarterfinals of the PSC Pacquiao Amateur Boxing Cup at the Enanchong Activity Center in Naga City, Cebu. The Bago City boxers, mentored by Sydney Olympian Larry Similiano, made a clean sweep of their 7 bouts in the 2-day event sponsored by the Philippine Sports Commission in coordination with the Office of Senator Manny Pacquiao. Jasper John Anda had an easy job with walkover win against Calbayog's Marvin Lucinesio in the Youth Boys Bantamweight division. Carlo Guevara stopped Calbayog's Minville Valadon in the opening round of the Youth Boys Light Flyweight category. Nel Tambanillo, on the other hand, landed solid combinations in the second round to force Bayawan's Renz Lee Teves to quit at the start of round 3 in flyweight category. Rodel Gamo, Samuel Manale, Joshua Belicena, and Flint Jara also scored contrasting wins in the junior boys division to also advance to the Visayas semifinals set on March 17 in Calbayog City. The province of Basilan is celebrating its 44th founding anniversary, and provincial officials urge residents to share with the public the positive changes the province is undergoing. Here's our report.
Basilan kicked off the 10-day celebration of its 44th founding anniversary, urging folks to utilize social media sites to promote the potentials of the province. The celebration, dubbed as Pakarajaan Basilan 2018, is anchored on the theme Sowing the Seeds of Peace, celebrating life, culture, and prosperity. Secretary Mayra Mangkabong of the DOST in the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao posed this challenge in her keynote address at the start of the celebration. Mangkabong encouraged local netizens to take a selfie in front of the provincial capital and post it on social media sites to show the Basilan of today. Mangkabong said social media posts would create an ambiance of peace and development, and urged residents to look into the future and not to rely much on the government officials in developing this province. Governor Haji Manhataman Saliman said part of the activities for the anniversary is the circumferential road caravan to show that this province is peaceful. Saliman and Mangkabong also led the opening of the Agro-Industrial Trade Fair, showcasing the potentials of the province. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country.
Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno is set to take a 15-day leave from the Supreme Court. Sereno spokesperson Jojo Lacanilao says the Chief Justice is taking a wellness leave from March 1 to 15, but belied reports that she is taking an indefinite leave. The announcement comes as Sereno's camp expects her to face an impeachment trial at the Senate. The House Committee on Justice is conducting deliberations to determine probable cause of the impeachment complaint against Sereno. House Justice Committee Chairman Reynaldo Umali, however, claims the on-bank forced her into filing a leave indefinitely. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Rom Dulfo.
Let's take another look at today's headlines. The National Bureau of Investigation is ordered to probe the local recruiter of slain OFW Joanna Demafelis. Malacanang assures that President Duterte is unlikely to railroad the implementation of charter change. The Department of Justice is set to probe the complaints against former President Noynoy Aquino over the Dengvaxia issue. And relief aid continues to pour into Albay as FIVOX maintains alert level 4 over Mayon volcano. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and all that it is doing for the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the hottest news and the latest information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Good day.